I'm laughing because today I'm going to be interviewing Rob Anspach, and he says that he's almost ready, trying to finish eating his Fig Newton. I guess that's his light lunch. Oh, that's funny. Welcome, everybody, to this month's Sales Practice Place. Today I have a real treat for you. We actually have a guest tonight named Rob Anspach, and he is an expert in social media and also in SEO. And tonight we are going to talk about this awesome book that he has called Share, 27 Ways to Boost Your Social Media Experience, Build Trust, and Attract Followers. It's just another call in the series on how to get yourself out there so that you can sell more. And so I'm really pleased to have him on the call tonight. So be sure to ask your questions, send an email. We will also post this on the website. You'll be able to listen to the call and also get a transcript if you'd like. So, Rob, I just want to say welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have you on this call for some time. I was going to read your bio, but I thought it might be more interesting to have you explain a little bit about your background. I think sometimes that is the best way to go. So why don't you go ahead and do that and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into social media.
Well, I got into social media quite by accident. Let's go back 20 years. In 1994, I was a disgruntled employee working for a cleaning business, and I thought I could do things better. So in 1995, I created my own carpet cleaning business with no knowledge whatsoever of marketing or, how to attract people into my funnel. So by 1998, I was struggling, and I saw this ad, and, it's basically, we're going to help you with your marketing. Okay? So I went out to Arizona, I learned a little bit about marketing, and I still wasn't sold, but I started creating my own ads, and that started attracting people into my funnel. And the more I started learning marketing and human condition and sales practices, the more people wanted to come to me, and then I started raising my prices. So I filtered out all the undesirables. Well, then this magical thing called social media came around, and first it was Plaxo and Friendster and a bunch of these other ones, but it really didn't take off until Facebook came around. And I had signed up for LinkedIn, I think, about a year before that. Really didn't use it. So I started this Facebook thing, and it was like, oh, great, I can see all these friends I didn't really want to see 20 years ago. Why do I want to see them now? And I thought, okay, well, how can I incorporate my cleaning business into capturing more clients using this great social media thing? And so I started spamming everybody. Hey, use my service, do this, do that. And Facebook cut me off. And they told me, don't do that, slapped me on my wrist. And so I started learning how to make it better, playing by their rules. And the whole thing about social media is basically being social. Have a conversation. Learn to bond with people. So the more I started to learn how to use social media more effectively, more and more people started coming to me and saying, hey, teach us. We want to know these things. Show us your secrets. And I thought, okay. So a friend of mine who's an editor of a magazine, and I was contributing some articles to, he says, Rob, I teach a seminar for cleaners, and they need to know this stuff about social media. Can you come out and teach a course? Okay. And so I went out, and everybody's, I think they gained a little bit of knowledge, but they were still confused. So then they would call me and follow up and do things. And then I said, okay, this is what you got to do. And then Facebook started changing things. So I had to relearn it again. The more you learn about social media, it doesn't matter now how many times they change it, because the dynamics of being social is still the same. You entertain people, you engage people, or you educate people, and then you engage them. And that's basically the premise of social media. There's three things: entertain, educate, and engage. And
let me ask a quick question. Why do you think it's so hard for people to get such a simple concept into their everyday life? I mean, what has become so complicated in that simplicity? Because you're very simple in your approach, but other people overcomplicate it. What do you think that is?
They don't like sharing. My whole book came down to one word: share, because that was the premise of everything on social media is, why do we do what we do? How do we get people to bond with us? Well, we share our experiences. We share our pain, our sufferings, what our kids did, what our employees do, how we win, jobs. I mean, testimonials are awesome. The problem with people, they don't like to share. They're like Vulcans. They keep their emotions to themselves. They don't want to,
they're afraid to give the store away, so they're less likely to give their expertise. One of the thought processes that comes up often when I'm coaching someone is that they feel like they have an original idea. They feel like they truly have something that everybody wants and that nobody else has created it. And I'm always surprised by that because there's nothing new under the sun. And they're so unwilling to share their expertise that they become a secret and nobody knows they exist. And so that's why I really appreciate this whole idea of sharing, because you're not going to give the store away, but you're going to let the people know that your store exists.
Right. So last year when my book came out, I made a decision. Do I want to continue with my cleaning business that is more localized into my own demographic, which, no one outside of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania is going to hire a carpet cleaner to come into their town from another town. So I was kind of localized. Or could I grow my speaking, my social media, my coaching, my SEO outside of my area? Well, here is the dilemma. Everybody in my area knew me as the carpet guy. So why would they hire me to do their social media? Why would they hire me to do their SEO? They wouldn't. So I made the conscious decision to get rid of the cleaning business and focus entirely on helping entrepreneurs grow their business using online trust creation, which is basically what you've learned over the years and years and years of working with Ari, getting people to trust you, to bond with you. And, people are still confused. They don't know how to use social media. And as, Facebook is gravitating to aggregating, what you send out to less and less people because they want you to pay for it, there are still simple tactics you can do to build up your following that people will still see what you do without paying for it. People read what the media wants them to see, and they get fearful, and they stop sharing, and they don't want to give.
Well, that's how we met. We met through social sharing on Facebook.
Right. And, over the last couple of years, I've met a lot of big gurus through social media, and I've become friends with a lot of people who, have come back to me and said, look, I met you on Facebook, or I met you on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I really liked what you had to say. Can I hire you? Well, yeah, that's fantastic. But see, the whole mentality of, for years, all we did was place a simple ad in a phone book or a coupon clipper or somewhere, in a newspaper, or put an ad in the radio, and it was a static message. And we would pay monthly for that static message to be out there and hope that we would capture somebody because of their curiosity to flip through a phone book to find us. Why drive people to an outdated mode of communication when all you have to do is reach out on social media and have a conversation with them? Exactly.
Well, like you, I've met a lot of unbelievable people in the space of social media. I met Diane Conklin, who I noticed is actually endorsing your website, and so I was really happy to see that. And it was through social media, and it wasn't, the way I met people was not by them necessarily even telling me about their business. It was just funny things that I saw. Somebody was talking about the dog, or, they went to go buy shoes and the shoes didn't fit them, and it was kind of comical. And so I started engaging. If you're a parent, you see a mom talking about, the daughter, giving her attitude, then all the moms want to jump in on that conversation, whether people or not. And so it was really fascinating to me at how, through a period of a few years, how you start to actually believe these people are your friends. And if you reach out to them, they often will become your friends because you have shared in conversations for many years. Right. So it's interesting. But let me ask you, what would you say is you have 27 ways. Why 27 ways? What? Well,
I could have put 100. I could have put 1,000. I wanted to keep it simple, and I wanted to make it the book so that you could take it with you anywhere. You could stick it in a pocketbook. You could stick it in your you know, if you have big pockets, you could stick them in. I just wanted the book to be simple because there's so many social media books out there that overcomplicate this whole process. You know, so 27, I just, you know, it was just one of those things where I wrote down a whole bunch of ideas, and I thought, okay, this one goes with that goes with this, and I just made it simple and said, okay, that's it. I'm limiting it to 27, and you know, people can kind of figure out what they want.
The reason why I mentioned the 27 is in sales training, as you probably know, we always talk about 7 touches. And the statistic today is not 7 touches. It's 28 touches now, which blows my mind.
Well, then I have to add one more.
Yeah, you do. You're really messing up here, Rob. And then it's not just, you know, and you're like, for example, I went to a Katrina Sawa event, and she was talking about follow-up. And so it's not enough to just send them a sweet email. You have to send them a sweet email. You have to send them a phone call. I mean, get on the phone with them. You have to Facebook friend them. You have to mail them a nice to meet you card. You know? I mean, there's a lot going on with.
Well, now we become cyber stalkers to our own customers.
Yeah. What do you think about texting as a share? Because that's the big thing now. Everyone has a cell phone, and they're, you know, texting now in addition to the other normal social. I just want to get your feedback on that.
Well, my kids text, my wife texts, and it's great for short communications. The problem is it's making everybody stupid because they can't spell, and they're abbreviating everything they text, and it drives me crazy. And I have clients that text me. I'm like, okay, it's great, but then I spend 30 minutes back and forth texting them, and they could have just picked up the phone and solved it in 2 minutes. I like simplicity.
That's true.
You know,
I think you have to be very careful too with words and messaging, because the inflection and the commas could be in the wrong place, and so you know, you might mean one thing, but it comes out meaning something else if you're not careful, and you get this reaction. What did he say?
Well, you know,
so I am a firm believer to pick up the phone probably is better than relying strictly on a text message. I
find that the silliest posts get the most reaction. You know, the other day I posted something about my book, and I got like 3 or 4 responses, and then I posted a picture of me with scruffy beard and wavy hair, and I had like 30 or 40 comments, and I had a whole bunch of likes, and I'm like, seriously? But, you know, people are so tired of the same, you know, those memes or the philosophical posts that people put. Sometimes they just want silly, and you know, I'm not saying that silly is good, but sometimes you really have to lighten the mood to get people to appreciate who you are and what you can do.
You either lighten the mood or you darken the mood.
Yeah.
I had to go. I had a friend that actually passed away, and I went to the service, and I thought, I'm going to do a selfie, and I normally don't do that. And I posted that picture, and it looked so sad, you know, and everyone's like, I got more attention for that sad picture than I've ever gotten for, you know, another picture of mine. And everyone's like, oh, you're so beautiful, you need to smile, you know, you should smile.
But,
I'm
you
like,
know, people...
Man, talk about getting attention, you know. So it's interesting how you can take the best picture in the world and you might get a few likes. But, boy, you post something bipolar opposite of that and you get engagement, you know. Are you okay?
Yeah. Well, you know, certain photos will elicit empathy, and people will feel your pain.
Yeah.
And they'll want to react, and they'll want to reach out. And I don't like always posting about, you know, you don't want to go around posting funerals all the time, because then they'll think, you know, what is this, a serial funeral person? But, you know, when you reach out and you share what you can do with others, it's going to really make your experience with them more meaningful. And the more that they can bond with you, the more they trust you, the more they're going to spend money on you. Maybe not now, but they're going to eventually.
You have to know how to stand out.
Yeah.
And I have a client right now. He's probably listening to this call, and I love reading his email messages because he is so different than everyone else's emails. I got to say, he is Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. I mean, he sounds so like depressed in the email. It's comical because he starts off with like, I'm trapped in a well. That's what you see on the subject line, and you go, what? And then you open it and then you read it, and so it's all Eeyore kind of, and then all of a sudden it flips into a sales pitch, but it's so natural in the way he shifts it that you really appreciate it. And, so his creativity to do something different than what everybody else is doing, it has really worked out well for him. And so I think that's kind of what you're saying here, too. You found a way to, as you put it on your website, you said discover the power, trust, creation.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to, sell more, you have to create that trust. And so the types of things you share on social media is not hypey. It may not even have anything to do with what you're currently doing as a business.
Right.
It could be, a dog. I see a lot of dog pictures coming up, and everybody, talks about a cute dog or a cute kitten. And if you share enough of those posts, then when you actually do share a post about your business, it's positive.
Right.
And at least that's what I've discovered. What is your take on that? I mean, how many non-business posts do you think you should share to every legitimate promotional piece? Have you thought about that?
In my book, I actually break it down so that, if you're posting 25 posts, 1 or 2 should be about your business. That's about it. Okay? So maybe 80% focus on everything else. Your friends, your family, the restaurant down the street, your dog, cat, whatever. And only 20% focus on your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because
how does that differ from your personal page and your fan page? How would that differ?
Well, most people have found, and this is kind of the way it's happening over the last 6 months, a lot of people now that have fan pages are gravitating back to their personal page.
I agree with that.
The fan pages aren't getting the engagement that they used to be. With Facebook trying to initiate their pay-to-play, businesses said, you know what, we don't want to pay to boost our posts, so this is what we're going to do. So they're bringing it back into their personal pages, and they're asking their employees, hey, post this on your personal page. Share this with your friends, family, and friends. Mm-hmm. So people are going back to their personal pages, and the businesses that have fan pages are either abandoning them or they're just not posting as frequently as they used to. Now, one of the tricks that I teach people is that it's still good to communicate on your fan page, but the best place to generate income is not on your fan page. It's through a community page or a group page, and just simple engagement back and forth where you're not selling, you're just having conversations with people, helping them. People look at your profile and say, hey, I want to be their friend. I want to learn more about them. And then they become your friend, and then they start listening to what you're saying in your posts or your shared tips.
Right.
But
Exactly.
people don't want to spend the time on these community pages or group pages or even fan pages because they don't understand how social media works.
Right.
So then we're back to square one.
There's a page right now that I thought was brilliant, and it's an encouragement community. And a keynote speaker runs it for free every week, at 9 o'clock at night. And people flock to that page. And I have to think that some of those folks will probably become customers at some point.
Right.
But the call itself is non-salesy. It's just purely based in helping people who are feeling a little bit down and out. It's uplifting. And I know that you actually have a page for business. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but is it the Business Dojo? Is that what you call it?
It's called the Business Dojo. I actually spun the name off. My son takes karate at a studio, and I'm friends with the instructor, who is an 8th degree black belt, and so he's in his late 60s. And I said, this would be a perfect location to have a business meeting. And he says, what do you mean business meeting? In my dojo? I said, yeah, we'll call it the Business Dojo, where we can teach them the art and discipline of being a better entrepreneur. And they're like, oh, that's brilliant. And he goes, and do you think that maybe some of these people who would come in to learn would want to learn karate too? And I said, let's try it. So we held a couple meetings, and 3 of the members ended up becoming students of his
Very
karate.
Nice.
So I spun it out, and I started doing it at other karate studios with other people I knew, and same thing. They've picked up extra students. They're teaching, I'm teaching the business side of it.
Well, I really do enjoy reading it. I didn't realize it was your page. And then I kept going, wait a minute, is that Rob's page? And I thought, it's really, I want to do that with mine. I have Sales Practice Place, and I figured, well, that in itself, I could all day long,
Right. And
write.
On that page, all I do is post, sayings or inspirational stuff that will get businesses or entrepreneurs to have a better sense about themselves or their business. And people are like, wow, okay, this is great. And it's just something I only post once a day.
Oh, so you're consistent with the once a day. That's the problem. People are not consistent.
Right.
And you've made it very simple. You're going to post once a day. Do you use a service to do that for you? Like you plan like a whole week, or are you literally every day going in?
Sometimes I do. I recommend 2 services, Hootsuite and Grab Inbox. And with Grab Inbox, you get the analytics. You can see, who's reacting. Who's engaging, and I think it's a better service, and it's free.
It's Grab and Box. How do you spell that?
GRABINBOX. Grab Inbox.
Grab Inbox.
So it's all one word.
And it gives you some analytics in there as well.
Right. And I think it's a little easier to use than Hootsuite. There again, you can program where you want your posts to go, whether it be a group page, whether it be a fan page that you're monitoring or adminning. And back in June, I took over an account for a client. He had 13,000 fans that he had obtained over a 4-year period, which is kind of impressive.
Mm-hmm.
What I told him to do is he was posting sporadically. I said, post once a day, no more, no less, just once a day. And he didn't want to post on Sundays because of his beliefs. I said, okay, fine, don't post on Sundays, just post 6 times a week. He says, okay. Well, between June of last year and May of this year, he's gained 22,000 fans to his fan page just by posting once a day.
Unbelievable. Did he have a strategy as far as what type of post? Like, was it always a quote, or was it a mix of things?
It's a mix. Most of the times he'll put a link. Sometimes he'll put a link in a picture. Sometimes he'll just put a blurb. He just wants something that goes out every day.
I want to go a little bit deeper on this call too, because, for example, when I did some social media for a client, I remember having a spreadsheet and everything was scheduled, and we had what I call a social media inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go out and look for like 30 quotes, pick our favorites, put them all on the spreadsheet. Then we might go out and pick some articles that we like and summarize, do some summary of those. And then all we have to do is pick and pull from our inventory. So like take a Saturday, let's say, and you spend 2 hours just building your inventory so that for the next 2 or 3 months, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Right.
Also, I've heard people will go to magazines online and look at what they have and, basically pick and pull from the different news stations, and so that everything they're doing is relevant. And so recently I noticed that Facebook has this thing called trending.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, where you can use, like Twitter, you can actually, do the pound sign and a keyword. And
right.
So I want to get your thoughts on that, because I actually did something as an experiment like you. I think sometimes you have to break all the rules before you, really know what you can get away with, and sometimes that will shut you down. So if anyone's
mm-hmm.
listening to the call, if you try some social media stuff, there might be some precautions that you have to take in order to protect yourself from being shut down. But anyways, what I was trying to say was the trending on Facebook has been very interesting, because I actually copy and pasted all the trending and I posted it on my
mm-hmm.
site, and I ended up with like a 2,000 person reach. And it really shocked me, because most of my posts were getting like 19 people reach and maybe 100 once in a while. And I almost panicked. I thought, well, they're definitely going to shut me down. But it let me know that those keywords on what was trending for Facebook not only appealed to the social media aspect, but it also had some sort of SEO relevance to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of curious if you've even looked into trending, or if you just feel that there's a much simpler way to get that organic reach.
Trending was actually something that came out of Twitter, and Facebook copied a lot of the whole Twitter thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Facebook has changed their algorithm so many times that by the time you try to figure out what they want, what they need, sometimes it's just better off to think about the basics that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And what I try to do is, and I know that you're going back to the whole inventory of things,
mm-hmm.
what I instruct people to do is, like, you got 7 days a week, okay? Label those days. So you got maybe Sunday is fun day or relaxed day, Saturday is movie night, and just label each day and then come up with a post that correlates to that each day. That
like
way now you only...
Like a theme day.
Right.
Okay.
Right, a theme day. So now you only have to think about so many posts per day because it's a theme. So when you start looking at your posts, what you want to put out, it makes your inventory so much easier to bring together because now you have a theme day.
Makes sense.
And that way, for those that don't know how to find content, don't know how to create content, having a theme day simplifies everything for them in their own life.
Mm-hmm.
But with the trending, that's something new for Facebook over the last few months, and they're going to actually be reshuffling some of the fan pages, the whole look of them. So certain things are going to still be evident, some things are not going to be. I've seen some of the new layouts.
I fear what that's going to do when you think about how much money people pay to make their fan pages look a certain way.
Right. And I think that's, it's kind of like, buying an iPhone, and then a year from now you realize that the new iPhone doesn't have the same connector cable as the old one. It's the same with Facebook. You got all these people creating pages and banners and this and that. Now they got to do it all over again because they're changing the format.
Well, that's what happened to me on my Facebook page. I had it all up and running. It was all linked. It had the forms. It had everything you can imagine. And then I think it was 2011. It said you had to have the security, the SSL, whatever they call that. And and I've been meaning to do it. I just got busy. But I remember feeling so let down. I felt like, how can they do this to people? The other thing that I didn't like is that when you do create a fan page, you have to get like 29 likes before you are given the analytical tools, the key performance indicators. And I know I could go buy the likes. I could probably bribe people to like it. I could say, I'll pay you $1 if you go like my page. But it just didn't feel right. I just didn't understand why Facebook wouldn't just automatically give those tools to the person who doesn't understand business, online business like you do.
Let me tell you how that works, and this is why they did it. Because in the SEO world, okay, when you're looking at keywords, just let's say for you it would be, Michelle Nixon sales practice place, okay? So you create a fan page that has those keywords in it, okay? And it could say sales practice place, yada, yada, and whatever, city and town you're in. So now you created a fan page with those keywords. As long as you have 5 fans on there, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to make posts. You don't have to do anything. After a while, Google will pick that up, and it'll show in, when you go to start doing, sales practice place and you're looking for the city and you know what it is, bam, there it appears in Google based on your keywords, and it's basically a dummy fan page, and it was just created because of the keyword index. And I think Facebook saw that was happening. They can't stop it. They just won't give you the analytics until you actually get more fans.
So you think it was a way to curb the indexing with Google? So
anybody listening, that's kind of a ninja trick that you could use. I don't recommend it, but people are still doing it.
They're creating fan pages with the keywords?
They're creating bogus fan pages that are just keyworded to what they want. So when people go to search, it's coming up with a fake fan page that directs them back to their website or another fan page.
I like that ninja trick. I remember listening to a call with Allie Brown, and she was saying how you post, let's say, on Monday, and then you wait till it gets indexed by Google, and then you repost again. It was like this whole strategy behind it. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I know that you probably do know how that works. But she said, let Google do the heavy lifting for you is what the whole point of it was.
And here's another way to boost your posts without ever paying for them to be boosted. Create a post, put it on your fan page, okay? Wait till a couple people like it, and in about 4 or 5 hours, go back and like it yourself. Because what's that going to do is, because you liked it, now it's going to show up in someone else's feed that you liked a post. So now they're going to go back and look at it and like it again. Or, their friends will see it and like it.
Well, that's a nice little ninja trick there as well. Thank you for that, Rob.
Don't like your post the moment it comes out. Wait a couple hours and do it. Because
a couple hours or a couple of days?
A couple hours, because that's if you're like me and I post a lot, I'm not going to remember what I did a couple of days ago.
Right, exactly.
But I can remember what I did a couple hours ago. So, a lot of people have, what I do is I have my post, my LinkedIn linked to my Twitter linked to my fan page and my personal page. So I post once, and it filters out to all of them. Some people don't like that. Some people say don't do that. Some people say, yeah, go for it. There's pros and cons, and there's personal belief in everything. But you know what? I don't have time to be monitoring 4 or 5 different social media channels. So I post once, I forget it, and if I get traffic, I get traffic. If I posted something to Facebook and something totally different to Twitter, something totally different to LinkedIn, I'd be on the computer all day long. I don't have time for that.
You're right, and that's what people think social media is. They think they have to be on the computer all day long. But as you mentioned, if you do your inventory correctly and you plan your theme days, and then you use a tool like Grab Inbox, you can literally, people will think you're on the computer all day long, but in reality you're not, because you're able to just check in when you need to.
Now,
do you have any recommendations as far as, are there special apps on the phone so that, because, a lot of business I've received, in Facebook was through messages. People say, hey, how much you charge for script? Can I, talk to you? And part of my fear was if I stepped away from Facebook, I might lose those opportunities.
I I do a lot of creative content for people. I actually write posts for people that don't really know how to do it or don't want to do it or just, they have more important things in their life to do. But in order for me to do that, I have to spend time with them. I have to get to know them. And, for me to fly to California or fly to New York or fly to Florida, just for someone to create posts that they could probably do on their own, you know yourself better than I do. So, for me to come down there, I got to really get to know you so I can write like you. And that's the problem is that, if you have someone creating your posts, does it sound like you? Because the people that know you have your own style of writing.
They're going to catch on, right? Right.
You have the words that you use. Some people, they're from Texas. They say y'all, and they write that. They spell like that. Well, I don't say that. I wouldn't even know how to spell it. So, for me when you create posts, make sure that it has your personality in it because that's what's going to help you bond with someone better.
Exactly. Well, I know that one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of times people will ask a bunch of questions, and that's become their whole world for social media. And I remember thinking, gosh, if I asked questions every day of my friends, they would get irritated with me because it is a shared platform between your friends and your personal business. So, I noticed that people who are really good friends have defriended me, and I call them up and say, why did you defriend me? Well, I saw some things on the news feed I didn't like,
Yeah.
What?
Well, and that can happen.
Yeah, and so it's because, you put your business persona on and then you're asking questions and it doesn't sound like you said, then people are like, well, I don't know. I didn't grow up with that person. Who is that? Who's Michelle? That's not Michelle. They get confused. How do you handle that when you really are trying to work at a level 10 in business and you have to do more that is out of character for you? How do you deal with that?
Well, sometimes you have to defriend people. And not to say that's good or bad, but there's going to be people on your fan page or your business page or your community page, if you admin one of those, that suck the living daylights out of you. They waste your time. They waste your energy. And there are a lot of nice people out there that will never buy from you. Not to say that you want to block them all, but...
Or worse, they'll spend hours of your time day in and day out and then boldly tell you how they've just purchased a coaching program from someone else. And you're like, really?
Right.
What?
Yeah. So, the example I had, I was working with a client, and she called me up and she says, what do I do about this person? They're telling untruths, about me, and it's really hurting. Do I delete them? Just delete the comments? Do I block them? And I said, well, okay. Is it bad stuff? I mean, is it detrimental to your business? Well, yeah. I mean, it's very personal in nature, and I'm like, okay. I said, well, if you don't want them there, block them. She says, okay, I blocked her. I said, okay, how you feel? She says, I don't know, it was my mom.
Oh, no.
And I said, what?
We've all had mom moments like that.
So, what I tell people is, look, use your own good judgment. If they don't bring any value to your page, then get them off. Because...
Is it... I mean, I know that you're not technically supposed to have more than one page on Facebook.
For sure.
But I think some people actually do, just so they can keep truly personal.
Oh,
and
yeah. I mean, yeah, they separate. I mean, I think that. I mean, I have multiple fan pages. Only a few that I actually use anymore. My personal page, and then I monitor 50 or 60 fan pages, which really gets to be interesting for my ADD. But the whole philosophy of social media, and I think that social media, in one form or another, has always been present in society. When you look back, three-way calling is social media. The party lines, social media. When you go into a barber shop to get your hair cut and everybody's there talking, that's social media. But people don't realize that because they think that you have to be behind a computer.
Right. One of the things that was cracking me up is all the pokes. People are poking each other. And I just envision myself walking into a Starbucks, and going up to strangers and start poking them, and having them turn around and look at me funny, But it's become that. People are a lot more social than they used to be. Just about anywhere you go, you feel like you know everybody. They look familiar. But our call is getting towards the end, and I didn't want to have everyone thinking that social media is just for Facebook. You actually have a larger following with your Twitter folks than your Facebook. And so I was just kind of curious how you're condensing, like with a Facebook post, you can do a paragraph. With with a Twitter, you have to learn how to be concise. And so I was just kind of curious, what the changes were, if any, recently, and how the two are married together. Like you said, if Facebook is using Twitter technology.
Well, think of Twitter as your short bio and Facebook as your long version. You take Twitter and anything that you wanted to say on Facebook, just condense it down into 140 characters. And it's hard. And sometimes it's a real pain in the rear end because your mental block, needs to be released to let these either words flow or take the words out. And you're like, okay, well, that's going to lose meaning. And what I see too much of is the hashtags. Hashtags are great. But sometimes I see 6 or 7 hashtags in a darn post. That to me that's like you're just screaming that you need attention. Limit your hashtags.
It's funny you say that because I've been confused. On one end I use maybe 1 to 3, and then I looked at someone else's and they wrote their whole paragraph was hashtags.
Yeah.
They had 25 of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was helping them or hurting them.
Well, here's the thing about hashtags in a nutshell. You could take any word, put the number sign in front of it, and it's a hashtag. So you can create your own, you can use someone else's, and they're great for doing searches on Twitter or Facebook. You put the hashtag, the number sign, whatever word is following it, and that becomes your search term. So now you can search for anybody who's using that term, how they're doing it. I mean, my book is called hashtag share 27 ways. So, you plug that in and you can see all the different posts that I've used that hashtag in. Now, if you have a competitor using a hashtag, take his hashtag and search it. Now you'll see all the posts that he's in, that word is in that he's using. And now you're seeing what your competitor is actually doing, with his posts or how he's engaging people. And so there again, another ninja trick that you can use to figure out what your competitors are doing. And now you can make your posts better.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing to overkill. It might look bad. It might look like hype, screaming attention.
Right.
But it's not necessarily a wrong thing to do. It's just, are people really going to take you seriously?
Some of the hashtags are made up to the point where they're never going to be used again. But certain hashtags, if it was sales practice, if it was, social media, if it was, carpet cleaning, those are generic enough that you could search them and figure out who's using what.
Right. Well, I do want to take a moment to stop for a second and just, if you're listening to this call, couldn't ask for a better guest on the subject of social media. Ron is definitely a big trust building generation kind of person, which makes selling so much easier. And as you can tell, his style is very conversational. He's not, the professor here, where it's way over your head. It's very simple and very easy to do at the surface level, at least one might think that. But actually, there is a science behind it. And so I would like Rob to walk through what it's like to work with you, because at the surface level, it seems like anybody could do this very easily and, get results and end up on number one of Google. And, in reality, there is a science behind it. You do come across very conversational, very easygoing, easy to talk to. The know, like, and trust factor is there, so people will buy from you. I'm just curious as to what it's like to actually work with you, and I think that the listeners on the call would like to know that too. What can they expect when they work with you?
Sheer panic. No.
Sheer panic? Uh-oh. I got a live one here.
No, it's,
people are panicked. They are.
They are.
They've been paying advertisement. I talked to a high-level marketer, and she said, whatever you do, do not buy Facebook ads. Because I was going to do that. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready now to, go buy some ads and do some, whatever. She said, absolutely not. She says, unless you have $1 million budget, forget about it. Unless you have a list of 30,000, forget about it. She said, just, pick up the phone, call, book speaking events, or get your social media going, your networking going, and use that first. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you do need
it doesn't have to be expensive. And I tell people, I said, look, if you follow what I teach in my book, you won't need to boost your posts. Now, if you decide that you want to boost your posts, make sure that you have a controllable budget that you can work with, that you can live with if it doesn't go anywhere. So if you decide that you only want to spend $5 a day, there's 30 days or 20 days, so your total monthly budget is $100 or $150. Okay? Now this is all you're going to spend. Limit it to that. There is a secret to social media, to winning the game, and it's all in my book. I'm not going to tell you to go buy it. It's right on the cover. It's called Share. Okay? Now, as to working with me, basically what I do is I sit down with you, whether on Skype or Google Hangout or on the phone, and I find out about you. I find about your personality, what you've done, what your business is, your experiences, if you won any awards, how your family is, if you have dogs or cats. I want to know, because the more I know about you, the more I can build that trust factor into the posts so that people can bond with you in order to buy from you. On my website, at the very top of my website is a phrase that I like to tell people. It's called, money is the byproduct of trust creation. People will not buy from you if they do not trust you. So I can't post for you unless I know more about you to help you win that trust game.
So do you offer a done-for-you service or a do-it-yourself, or both?
Most of the time, if they read my book, basically it's done for you. I mean, they're going to have to do a little bit of homework, but they'll understand the game better so that they can do it themselves. Now, yes, there are people out there that have hired me, and I do create their ads for their posts. But there again, I do one post a day because that's all you really need on your fan page or your community page. But
I still kind of classify you as a copywriter, and I wanted to wanted to go into that a little bit before the call ended, because the copywriting is very much a part of social media to some extent. There's some things that you're just talking about the cup of coffee you had, and then there's other things that you're actually trying to sell something. So you want to talk a little bit about where the dividing line is between social media and copywriting to promote?
So my big marketing superhero is Joe Sugarman. He's the creator of Blue Bucker sunglasses. He's a fantastic marketer, and he's a brilliant copywriter. Now, if you can think about everything that you want to post as a headline, go in your grocery store, grab a few trash mags, read the headlines, because those headlines will become your post. So all you have to do is change the words and whatnot, but make it so that when you're thinking about your target audience, make your Twitter or your LinkedIn or any of your other posts short, sweet, to the point, and then if you want to put a link back to your website or back to where you want them to go, that becomes your post. So
if someone hires you as a social media guy, are you also creating their sales page or the squeeze page? Is that something you do? I can design all that for them. I've written content for websites. I've written content but I write in their style because I just did a site for a photography business, and I spent a day with him. I had to learn who he was, how he did things. When I wrote his content on his photography site, and he had the site up for 2 years and there was no content. It was all pictures. So I rewrote all the content, and by doing so, his SEO increased exponentially. Well, I redid some of the SEO coding as well. But anyway, I do all that. I design your social media. I do SEO. I look at your keywords. I look at your key phrases. I look at what's going to help build trust with you to your audience,
customers, your audience, and I go from there. Is it always easy? No. Is there jobs that I don't want to do? Yes. I mean, there's people out there that'll call you that will make you uneasy. You have the right to say no. And I'm telling you this because there's people out there that you'll see the dollars in your eyes, but it will not fit with your personality or what you do or your beliefs. Don't do it. Walk away. If your gut tells you no, don't take the job. And I know that's really hard for some people.
And that's that qualifying that we always talk about, qualifying the customer to see if you're fit. Yeah, because you're going to spend a lot more time wrestling with that than actually accomplishing someone who is more on the same page.
Right. And it goes back to your social media. If you find people that really are on your fan page, if they really aren't the right fit to be there, delete them. Take them off your page. Because those people will create the most drama in your life, or they'll create the most headache on the page, and they'll give a bad experience to the rest of your followers who will then decide, hey, I don't want to be here because this guy's being a jerk. Take them off.
Right.
The whole thing about being social.
How do you handle that? Are you able to send out a message to everyone privately apologizing for someone who may have done something, or is that just you just delete them and just hopefully
delete them and move along? Because sometimes by apologizing for that person, you're creating more drama, and some people may have not even saw what was going on.
Now you're right.
So you just delete the comment, block him or her, and move on. Because you want an experience. You want to be able to create an experience for your fans, friends, and followers. And if you're not creating that experience, then people are going to leave. Your fan page was not created to tell people about your business, really. It was created to give your fans, friends, and followers the experience that they want to come back or tell their friends about you.
Right. And one last thing before we let people know how they can find you is, what about the branding aspect of social media? Like, for example, we spoke a little bit earlier about, being so consumed with making everything about how great you are versus just being very simple, like you said, creating a theme. How does the branding part, on a Facebook page affect you in getting the byproduct of trust created? Right.
When you have a nice-looking banner, a picture that entices someone to come in, it welcomes them, that's going to help. If your messages aren't very spammy, that's going to entice them to come in. But here's the trick, and most people are never going to remember me in a few weeks unless they've listened to this call a lot and they, oh, wow, that Rob guy, he's awesome. But they're not going to remember to spell my name.
Everyone on this call, you need to do the social media and share the link with everyone you know. That's how you pay Rob back for this call.
But, most people, they'll remember the product or the service that you delivered to them. They'll remember, maybe some of the aspects on your fan page. They'll remember some of the posts. They might not necessarily remember your name. So getting a hashtag that gives them an idea of where you can be found, giving them a keyword where they can use it to find you. See, Coca-Cola has already got this figured out because they got millions of dollars or billions of dollars in direct advertising. Most people do not have the luxury of spending that kind of money to brand a keyword or a name. So as a small person, I'm not 3 foot tall, but I mean as an individual who doesn't have a huge budget like that, you really need to open it up a little bit more, create dialogue and conversation so people remember you better. Mm-hmm. I know that it probably doesn't correlate to branding as you or some people think.
No, I think you're spot on. I just think that some people are so worried that, I can't talk about my kids because, what if my customers see that?
Right. So I talk about everything, and my wife gets a little uncomfortable when I talk about certain things, or I take her picture and put it on there because she doesn't like that. But she's not an entrepreneur, so I need to be able to build trust with the people who are following me, and the best way to do that is let them know that I am human, that I am here, and it gives them access to me.
Right. Well, I really appreciated this call so much. There are so many things in your book. I'm just going to quickly read some of the areas that we did not cover on the call. This book is actually very inexpensive, and we're going to talk about how they can get it. But basically in here, you talk about, there's one of the chapters is called Share You, and you talk about the best ways to share yourself and, how you can get attention and become the expert, where people actually know you exist. And then you have another one called Share the Deeper You, so, that's interesting. Share your style, share your entrepreneurialism, just share the way you answer things, how you acknowledge things. You have free gifts in here. You talk about speaking and coaching, and there's some big money in speaking and coaching these days. And you probably could help others who want to break into that industry just by simply working with you or at least starting with your book. And then you actually talk about a Share 27 Ways photo contest. So when you get Rob's book, you are to take a picture of you holding it, which is a very refreshing idea because not too many authors do that. And that's pretty cool. If you get the hard copy book, and probably if you message Rob, he'll probably even autograph it for you if you ask him nicely. I have his book. I am going to be taking a picture and posting it myself. So where's the best way to get the 27 ways, the share book? Where do they get that book?
Well, they can get it on Amazon in print and on Kindle. Now, they can also get it directly from me, and I autograph it. It's $19.95 plus shipping. I think it comes out to like $25. But that's in the United States and Canada.
And that's if they want an autograph. That's if
right.
They want an autograph book.
If they don't want it autographed, they can go to Amazon. I think Amazon is selling them for $17, $18. And, if they're a Prime member, they get better shipping deals. I think a Kindle version of my book is $9.95 or something like that. I prefer a print book because I can make notes. I can highlight it. I can dog the
I like
pages.
it because it stares at me from my shelf and it reminds me, oh yeah, I got to pick that up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where if you get something in Kindle, it's like to remind yourself to read any book in there is a little bit more difficult. So I'm like you. I like the hard copy books.
Right. And, if they go to Amazon, they can get my other Kindle book, which is called Social Media Debunked, which actually takes them back before social media and teaches them how to be social without using social media. It also gives them a guideline of rules and do's and do nots which they should follow using social media. And I think that's only on Kindle. I think that's like $4. Now, honestly, for $20, you can get a great book and start learning how to do social media.
I look at it like this. There are people making $20,000 to $100,000 a month using social media. So to pay for something under $20 that's going to show you how to do that is it's such a, I mean, it's really unbelievable to me, but it's true. And where can they find you? What do you have any events that are coming up?
I do not have any speaking events as of yet. I was just out in San Francisco and Santa Cruz 2 months ago. I know I have to go to Florida in September to do an event with an attorney. I think you and I are going to be planning something at the end of the year. But when I do have things, they're going to be posted on my website, which is robanspach.com. It's ROBANSPACH.com. And you can find more information about me, my book, and there'll be other information in there. If you need SEO work, we can do that. Or they can contact me directly at, what is my number? I got so many of them. Maybe it's in the book. Tell
them your number's in the book. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's in the book. Yeah, I think it's 412 and my last name, Anspach, ANSPACH. But
awesome. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you wanted to cover before we end the call?
I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff. Oh, well, just like we had this conversation, when you read my book, it's like having a 2 to 3 hour conversation with me. It's a very easy read. It's filled with stories I think you can relate to, and it's got real-world examples of real posts from real people in the book that you can actually go find them on Facebook and friend request them. But it's going to get step by step. It's going to say, hey, look, this is what you got to do. This is why you do it. And it's going to give you the reasons. And it's only 120 pages. I made the font just a little bit big because I got bifocals now, so I wanted a book that was non-intimidating and got to the root of the problem without being technical.
Right, and I'm sure you'll have volume 2 and volume 3 because that's what social media is. It's always changing.
Well, the book I'm writing, the book I'm writing now is all about SEO, and I'm trying to simplify the SEO world just like I simplified social media.
Awesome. Well, everybody, if you again want to go to Rob's site, that's Rob, R-O-B, Anspach, and that's spelled ANSPACH.com. As you know, this call will be posted at salespracticeplace.com. We will have the audio available to listen. We will also transcribe the call. If you want to get a copy of that, you can opt in for that. We will also post the link to where you can get his book so that you can start improving your social media strategy right away. And if you want to work with Rob, you can friend him on Facebook. You can call him. You can schedule maybe a free consultation with him and go from there. It's been wonderful having you on the call, Rob. I really appreciate it. I know that, everyone at Sales Practice Place, we're always trying to do a better job of promoting ourselves and selling our products and services, and you're definitely in alignment with what we teach, which is trust creation, and I feel very blessed to have you on the call. So I just want to say thank you, and if you have nothing else to say, we're going to go ahead and end the call. Until next time, this is Michelle Finnegan-Nixon with Sales Practice Place, and again, thank you to Rob Anspach for being such a great guest.
Adios.